Hello, this is David and welcome to Lufia and the Fortress of Doom, a review in retrospective history. RPGs were extremely difficult to come by in the early 90s, and gamers were eager to get their hands on whatever they could find. There were pretty much only 5 major RPG releases on the NES, so it's no wonder that they weren't that popular in the West. No one knew that they existed. There weren't many signs that this sad state of affairs was going to change anytime soon, and the outlook was bleak. A small company, Neverland, set out to change that in 1993 with their release of Lufia and the Fortress of Doom. Lufia is their debut title, and unfortunately, it shows. It's pretty much a straight Dragon Quest clone, but with a few Final Fantasy elements thrown in for good measure, such as elemental weaknesses for enemies and seeing your characters in battle. Encounters are random, which is par the course for the time, and characters gain magic spells upon leveling up, like most Dragon Quest games. There are the 4 Fiends, or Sinistrals in this case, whose titles are a direct ripoff of the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse in the Book of Revelation. The series had moderate success and had 3 follow-up titles as well as a revisionist remake. In Japan, the series is known as Estepolis, named after the world in which the game takes place in. However, in the West, the series was named after one of the main characters in the first game, and even though Lufia herself is absent from all successive games, the title stuck. The Sinistrals, or Mad Gods in Japan, that I previously mentioned are also consistent throughout the series as the main antagonists. Lufia is pretty unique among console RPGs in that it's a sequel to a then unmade game. The game opens 100 years in the past with a band of heroes from Lufia 2 fighting the Sinistrals. Once Maxim and company save the world, and the ending sequence of Lufia 2 begins. It's at this point where the game fast-forwards 100 years into the future, where the Sinistrals are reviving and it's up to a new band of heroes to defeat them. The hero, a descendant of Maxim and Selen, is a pretty typical protagonist. He's not, however, silent. He will converse with other party members and with NPCs at various points in the game. He's one of the 2 most powerful melee fighters in the party, and he's also capable of casting healing magic. Lufia is the main character's childhood friend and his love interest. She's the most powerful spellcaster in the game, particularly whenever it comes to offensive magic, making her your squishy black mage. Personality-wise, she's pretty feisty, though she also has a softer side. Aguro's a knight in the Lorbenian army, and the only party member who cannot cast spells, so as such, he's the strongest member of the team. He considers himself a noble figure, though the game gives him next to no dialogue after he joins, save for constantly fighting with your last party member, Jaren, a half-elven diaper-wearing girl whom the party rescues. She's a kind of jack-of-all-trades with her arrows hitting groups of enemies, greatly reducing grinding time. She also has access to black and white magic, though she excels more at healing, making her ideal for that role. The battle system is your standard turn-based affair, but with one huge glaring flaw I've yet to mention. A problem that should have been left behind in an 8-bit era, an unforgivable targeting situation. If the player targets the same enemy with 2 characters and the first character kills it, the second will just whiff at the air rather than target the next enemy in line. This is extremely annoying and downright game-breaking in such a grind-heavy game. As far as I know, it's the only 16-bit game with this problem, though. Side quests are pretty stark for a game released in '93, though they do kick off traditions that all the other games will follow. There's the Egg Dragon quest, where you have to find 8 eggs hidden in chests throughout the world by backtracking all over the place to find them. It's anything but fun. The Ancient Cave is here too, but it's basically just a place to grind up levels, find tons of treasures, and make a lot of money. It's not the Ancient Cave from Lufia 2 by a long shot. It's really more of a swamp-infested dank pit. Graphically, the game looks very bland. There are very few different tile sets for the various dungeons and cities, so one dungeon will be visually identical in terms of tiles and colors to the next dungeon. The music, while upbeat and fun, can get very repetitive very quickly. There aren't a lot of tracks, and it seems that the same ones just play over and over again. Lufia has an interesting setup, but lacks the niceties of later 16-bit RPGs. There's very little in the way of character customization, there's too much tedious grinding, and it doesn't quite possess the drama or the charm of a Final Fantasy or a Dragon Quest. Thankfully, The later titles build off of this and offer substantial improvements. The US version of the game is fairly close to the Japanese version, aside from suffering from the standard Nintendo of America policies regarding the uses of crosses and temples. Additionally, you could press the X button to get a brief description of an item, but this feature was removed from the English release. In 1994, Taito announced that Lufia was being ported to the Genesis. The only time the game was publicly displayed was at a CES trade show, where very incomplete footage was shown. However, in 1995, the game was quietly cancelled. Lufia received positive reviews upon release, but it has aged very poorly. Upon release, Electronic Games scored it a 93%, calling it the best RPG so far this year. However, Game Rankings, an aggregate review site, currently gives it a score of 69%. I guess it takes an old soul to love this game. Lufia was a good game for its time. I played it myself in the 90s and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but like I said, it has really aged terribly. There's an unforgivable amount of backtracking as well as fetch quests within other fetch quests. It's like those Russian nesting dolls where you think that you're done with one fetch quest, and then another one rears its ugly head. The random encounter rate is also through the roof. I would say to play it only if you love the Lufia series and want to see where it all began, as well as become more exposed to the game's lore, history, and world. Keep in mind though, all good things have to start somewhere, and the series only gets better from here. This has been David. If you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.